Hello and welcome to another Office Hours. I am Nicole van der Hoeven.
And I'm Paul Balogh. Nice to see everyone. I was going to say
And
nice to meet
today,
everyone, but
we're not really meeting them.
yeah, no, that's
So today we have a lot to cover. We had this idea because we've hit a milestone recently, and some of us have hit personal milestones as well. We'll talk about that later. We wanted to talk about the big acquisition and life in the year after we were acquired by Grafana Labs. So, Paul, I know you weren't here for this time, but before it was announced, we actually at K6 found out only a few days before the announcement. So it was still like really, we're all kind of shocked at what had happened, really, and positive, but also like, what are we doing? I know people who were on leave that week came back and they were like, what? How have things changed so much
surprise.
in 1 week? Yeah, pretty much. It did feel like that a bit. And so what happened was we got Grafana Labs' CEO Raj Dutt come and talk to us. I actually really appreciated that because it was just him and us. He went to like our weekly company, like our engineering sync that we have, and it was a good experience. I remember thinking like, someone who's like that, who's talking the way that he is, it can't be too bad. But that was before anything was announced, so we were also a bit like, wow, we can't talk about it yet or anything. It was really an interesting time. Then there was, at that time, that was the week that there was a Grafana Conline 2021. And that's the big conference of Grafana where they were announcing a whole bunch of things, and they had saved K6 for last, best for last, right? And I'm going to play a clip of exactly the announcement that was made.
So a tool that we found a couple of years ago that we really like is an open source tool called K6. So this is a tweet from 2019 from Marcus, who's a core developer at Grafana. He's been with us for quite a few years now.
Frozen.
And so Marcus says, K6, I love you. This is the second time that you helped us track down a nasty bug in Grafana that only happens under heavy load. And this was a critical bug that we really had a hard time resolving. And it was a bug in what would become Grafana 6.0. And we were able to use K6 to generate synthetic load that simulated a user that helped us find this edge case that was really tricky to diagnose. And as we started to get more and more into K6, we found that it's really useful to set up all sorts of synthetic tests and load tests that are tied into our CI. And this has helped up our quality and ultimately helped us move faster with less risk, because we can catch a problem before it's deployed to production. But it's kind of suboptimal in some ways because the K6 tool isn't tied into our larger observability platform. We'd like to use the same observability platform to see the results of the load test. So we've been talking to K6 for quite a while, and we've been really impressed with their team. Their founders, Hoeven and Paul, are just really talented developers. They have a really compelling vision, and above all, they're just really nice people. So the news that we have to announce is that Grafana Labs is acquiring K6. They're a crack team of about 30 people. Like us, they're distributed all over the world. Like us, they believe in open source, and they have a really popular open source project with well over 12,000 GitHub stars. Like us, they monetize that open source project with the cloud offering. And the more we talk to K6, the more we realize that our vision was aligned to create a truly compelling experience that allows you to test your software before it goes into production and tie the whole experience into a consolidated observability platform that we're going to build together. In a way, this is how Grafana Labs is going to shift left towards earlier in the software development lifecycle. And we're really excited to announce this acquisition with everyone today. And so K6 is a Grafana Labs company, and we're going to be working together to accelerate their roadmap, as well as bring some of their load testing capabilities into our observability platform. So Robin, Powell, the whole K6 team, really looking forward to working with you over the coming months and coming years. And to our community and our customers, you can expect some really, really interesting capabilities that is a result of this acquisition and us being able to work together in this problem domain.
So that was the big announcement when we were watching this. The K6 team at the time, 30 of us, we were all, well, not all of us, but like some of us were in a Google Meet together, and some people were actually celebrating live, like Powell and Powell, our CTO, and Robin, our CEO. They were celebrating in person together, and I remember being on that call and it's like, oh, is he going to say it? Is he going to say it? Yes, it's public. It's out there. It's official. And it just felt like it wasn't real until that moment, really. Was that the first time you'd seen it, Paul?
I actually did see, when I joined K6, I did see some of those videos where the acquisition was announced. So yeah.
What was
exciting stuff.
What was your initial thoughts on it?
Oh, to me, it made perfect sense, honestly. And that's when when I did decide to come join K6 and Grafana, I mean, I thought, yeah, it's like the perfect pairing, right? The observability, being able to see that from the Grafana side of things. And then, K6 obviously to generate the load, to do the testing. And yeah, it's a perfect pairing. And then also the whole open source philosophies with both groups, they mesh well. So it's like no brainer. I was coming to K6/Grafana.
Yeah, I heard of Grafana before I heard about K6. So and I used it for load testing, for analyzing my results. So like I think to me it made perfect sense, and especially in terms of culture, because they're also very much into open source everything. That was one of the things that I was worried about. Like I didn't want them to take K6 and just be like, okay, now it's all behind closed doors and you have
Yeah.
to pay to use it. That was definitely not the case. So I guess we should just go ahead and talk about all the new stuff that happened in the
Yeah.
year.
Let's do.
Okay,
There's a big list.
Yeah, there really is. So this is the first 6 months, at least. So this announcement was in June 2021. So this is all the stuff that happened in the 6 months after that. Immediately, it seemed like to me there was already a bunch of things that we definitely wanted to show, that we were integrating with Grafana. There was the K6 Cloud data source. At the time, it was just a data source for Grafana Cloud. So it was still not as good as it is now, but there was an integration. It required a little bit of setup, and there were basically no dashboards, or I think there might have been 1 or 2 dashboards that came with it, but you still pretty much had to do most things yourself. But there was a link between Grafana Cloud and K6 Cloud almost immediately. And then we did the Prometheus remote write output. Prometheus is not a Grafana only project, but it is one that Grafana has heavily invested in.
Yes.
And so
Very
it was really important for us. Were you saying,
Yeah,
Paul?
definitely. Oh no, definitely the tie between Grafana and Prometheus. I mean, because Grafana's been heavily involved in the development of Prometheus for already some time, and then even with its the successor essentially of Cortex, which is the distributed Prometheus, and then now we have Meyer, which is I guess Cortex plus plus. It's but yeah, for the massive amounts of data collection for these stats. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely that was a big plus that we'd already been. I mean, Prometheus had nothing to do really with just being acquired by Grafana, because even without that, I think it's a really good move to
Definitely.
integrate more closely and to have to be able to output K6 metrics in Prometheus remote write format. So it was really good anyway for K6 to be able to have that. pretty soon as well. We had I put it in Grafana Labs because it's like an integration thing, but we also had a cloud APM in our K6 cloud. So before that, you could pipe K6 metrics out to whatever you wanted, really. But this just made it easier to do within the cloud as well, not just on the OSS version. And of course, like, it just made it easier to set things up. If you were already using Grafana or like New Relic even, or other APM providers, we didn't just stick to Grafana Labs. I remember when this was announced, it was a relief to me that it's not like, oh, now we're owned by Grafana, we are only going to do Grafana things. That was a very big plus for me. It was like, okay, maybe they're really serious about this big tent philosophy.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you're seeing like how skeptical I was in the beginning. And I'm just a skeptical person, I think.
Nicole, you're such a cynic.
I know. Like, who would have thought? On the K6 cloud side, we had a bunch of, I would say, more enterprisey features, which is natural progression. Grafana, of course, had a lot of enterprise customers, and it would be silly not to try to take advantage of that and try to lure them over to our cloud as well. So things like SAML SSO happened, and being able to, like, this read-only project is a feature in cloud where you can allow people to view projects but not start tests or anything like that, for people who are stakeholders but may not necessarily need to run load tests. And then there's a lot about reporting. So this is when we had the exporting of PDFs, and then thresholds. Am I going too fast? Maybe you should also like read some of these, Paul. I feel like I'm just reading from the slide.
Yeah, no. This is all from the pre-Paul era of Grafana and K6. So yeah, no. But
he's not joking. Yeah. He was saying before stream, he's like, to me, there's like two eras: pre-Paul,
right.
Post-Paul.
Exactly. It's like
fair enough.
Need to think of some sort of a cool dynasty name or something to reference them. So
yeah. Have you tried out the thresholds feature in K6 Cloud yet?
You know, I don't honestly get into cloud as much. I stick in the OSS stuff, but the cloud, the updates, and like with the performance insights are pretty cool too. And then the test builder, that's pretty sweet to be able to do that. Mm-hmm.
Well, with the thresholds, we'd always had it in OSS, and even in cloud, there's a way to set thresholds in terms of memory or CPU utilization or a whole bunch of things. You can do it on pretty much any metric. But this thresholds feature here in particular that we did last year was a separate thresholds page, and it's more along the lines of like it's more for SLOs, like making sure that you're tracking. It's like a focus on SLOs to make sure that SLOs across different maybe parts of your application or different components or different projects are all tracking up. So I think this was already like a sign of how we were trying to zoom out a bit. It's like, it's not just about the load test. It's also about something, a whole reliability system, really. Mm-hmm. It's more into the observability space.
Right.
Performance insights is like my favorite feature of K6 Cloud. And this is because pretty much every load testing platform says, like when you run a test, they always say, the error rate or the response time or things like that, right? That's pretty standard. But what we do that I loved, and when I was thinking about whether or not to join K6, of course I tried K6 Cloud too, and I was so impressed, is that it's hard to take advantage of all that data without experience. And performance insights is is a feature where it looks at the data, and there are smart algorithms that determine things like, here you're reaching the throughput limit of your test, so your number of virtual users is increasing, but the throughput of the test is not. So then it talks about like, what are the symptoms of this and what are the potential causes? And then what do we recommend you do? And that was just something I'd never seen in a tool before. So I freaking love this feature. I love it. It's like, it's not just data, it's smart data. It's tailored, and I like that it's like very handholdy as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a good value add for the cloud, the SaaS product for sure. Definitely.
So then we also got improved test builder. So the test builder is a UI way to start scripting in K6. And the test builder has like a component where you can do it without coding at all. So it's completely like drag and drop and adding elements and stuff. But there's also a script editor. So it's both sides of it. You can still just script directly into K6 Cloud. And there were so many improvements in test builder, so much so that I created a video on Test Builder, and then I couldn't release it because it was already outdated. And then I finally just said, like, you know what? I'm just not going to do it until everything's done. So now there are things like multiple scenarios that happened, and it used to be way more basic than what it is now. Now you can even run multiple you have a lot more control over what happens in K6 Cloud, because there were a lot of things that before it was like, oh, Test Builder can do a little bit, but if you need anything remotely complex, then you need to do a script, and that has changed in the last year.
Yeah. And it's so nice too that for the test builder, you don't have to be a paying customer on the K6 Cloud product. You can just for the cost of an email address, basically, you can create your account and you can use that test builder. So if you want that user interface to generate your scripts and then take those scripts and just run them in the OSS product, you can do that. So that's really a nice thing. So you have that kind of IDE essentially for creating your tests.
Yeah, absolutely. There's also the org-wide tokens along the lines of focusing on enterprise customers as well. We had always had API tokens on a per account basis, and that made sense for like real people, real users. But then sometimes, there was a problem if one person used their credentials to run like something that ran in CI/CD pipelines, and then that person left, and it was like, what now? And there were issues like that only occurred on like for larger companies and enterprises. So that was a whole focus as well, to introduce tokens that were for the entire organization, that were meant for CI/CD pipelines and such.
Hey, and I was just going to mention Matt Dodson from our the content team, the documentation team. He mentioned about something a doc coming up maybe for performance insights. I don't know if that's something that he's working on or something to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's asking or telling us, but
I
there
don't know.
actually
Maybe,
is some documentation on it. I'm just posting a link to it. There's a bunch of performance insights here, but this is still changing. Looking at it now, there are a few I know that are live that are not here yet. That's probably our bad. There are definitely more coming, and there are so many things that we want to do with this. This is not the end of it. This I won't commit. It's hard to say anything because then it's like I'm not even committing myself. I'm committing other teams to doing the work. But there's a lot more that's coming in this side. Infrastructure. So I kind of put in under infra. Honestly, I was going to put internal, but then it didn't fit. So I just put infra. Do you want to talk through these things, or do you want me to?
Sure.
Since it's
No. Well,
pre-Paul.
yeah. it's, it's that prior era. Yeah, no, I mean, so yeah, we're going with the GitOps strategy. We're using Argo CD to make our deployments up to the cloud. So, this is all the stuff that the K6 cloud is running on. So, we're like with many other shops, we're using the GitOps strategies. Kubernetes migration. We were just talking about that. 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe, I don't know. Talking about our journey with migrating from Amazon ECS, which is the Elastic Container Service, over to EKS, which is the Elastic Kubernetes Service. So we're switching over to Kubernetes, and so that's pretty exciting right there. I think we're pretty much there, if I'm not mistaken. Not everything has been migrated over, but most of it. So a big chunk anyway. Personal
So I
staging.
actually talked to Artem about this, because these last two things, Artem is our back-end lead, and DevOps lead. I'm sorry. It's kind of mixed up here because it's not really by team, because sometimes multiple teams worked on multiple features. But he was saying that the Kubernetes migration thing came out as like the best approach for this project that they have called SRE Production Ready. I don't know if you've heard about it, Paul, but it's been going on for a while because it's so huge. So I want to stress this because it looks like on the infrastructure side it's light, but those things are really big ticket items that require multiple teams to work on them. And the focus of this SRE Production Ready project was to, one, ease the deploy of isolated testing or experimental environments like personal stagings. So before this, it was a little bit more difficult because you couldn't just spin up something on your own, and they did a lot of work to automate that. And then the second thing is we are moving towards, in the future, potentially, hopefully, some sort of on-premise solution for K6 Cloud, but that requires more work than you might think. Yeah. And then there's also just like improving monitoring of our own stuff, and monitoring and observability and performance and reliability of our own stack. And he was saying that Kubernetes just fits to address all three of these goals.
Yeah. I can definitely speak to that, though, that migrating to a Kubernetes system is not straightforward, unfortunately. It's definitely there be dragons, as they say.
Yeah, we just did an office hours on that, right? Yeah. On like best practices for doing it after we've done it.
Yep.
It's like, in hindsight, these are the things we should have done.
Yes. Yeah, that was a good one with Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos is great. What else? What else have we got here? Okay, Xk6 and K6 stuff.
What is
kind of
that?
lumped them together. I don't know. Why don't you tell us?
All right. Well, yeah. So, of course, Xk6, the nice way to hook in all kinds of good stuff into K6. But yeah, so the Xk6 Chaos extension was created initially, I guess, during this period. Doesn't do much other than you can kill pods. So obviously it goes against Kubernetes, and then you can kill running instances of pods to make sure that see how your application behaves as Kubernetes brings those pods back up, tries to recover. Yeah, the cool one too, which I'm going to be doing a lot of deep dive in very soon for the CNCF webinars, but K6 operator. So this lets anyone use the open source K6 deployed into a Kubernetes environment to do distributed coordinated load tests. So that way then you can have, just like what the K6 cloud is doing, where you can have multiple K6s working together on the same load test to test everything. That's pretty cool. Xk6 Browser. Oh, this is one that is near and dear to Nicole's heart. For the end-to-end browser testing, I know you've dealt a lot with that.
Yeah, and it happened so soon after the announcement. I think it was like there was an observability. Oh no, I can't remember what con it was, but it was a few months after we had announced the acquisition that we announced Xk6 Browser, and it was like, wow, there's so much that's happening. I mean, when you think about the fact that Xk6 in general, like this whole extension ecosystem is still fairly new. I think that when I arrived a year before the acquisition, it had just happened. And so the fact that we have not just extensions, but full-fledged products really that leverage this is amazing. I can't believe how fast it's all happened. And Xk6 Browser was initially created by our CEO, Robin Gustafsson. So that's also pretty awesome.
Wow. They didn't kick him out of the code base by that time?
No, he started it. He didn't finish it, or he didn't, he's not maintaining it now. He's pretty busy these days. But it's still amazing that he was the one that created it. I love that we work for a company like that.
Yeah.
I also want to say, so the announcement of the acquisition was in June. In August 2021, Grafana Labs raised $222 million in Series C funding. So that this is all, there are press releases and stuff for it. But yeah, that was just a very big, like, hey, we've just bought you and you made the right choice in saying yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So what else is this InfluxDB stuff?
Yeah, so then we had the additional support for the output extension for InfluxDB. Now I think in core we already have a little bit of support for InfluxDB, but this is for some later versions to support. Execution context variables. So now in the old school scripts, you would use the environment variable for things like the VUID or the iteration. Now we have this kind of an extension. You do an import in your script, and then this context will have your all that information that you can use in your scripts as well. And then promises, that's for with futures and everything for in your JavaScript. That ties into what we're doing now with these event loops in a way too for extensions, so that you can have callbacks or async callbacks from your scripts. So there was a lot that happened before I joined.
Yeah, it wasn't just after you joined that we were working, Paul. Come on now. I know you like to pretend nothing happened before you.
Exactly.
It was a really full year.
Yeah.
When you think about the fact that this is just half the year.
Exactly. Yeah, 6 months. Wow.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot. There's still things that weren't there. Some smaller things like on K6 Cloud, email notifications came out. I can't even imagine not having that now. And then filterable results tables. We didn't used to have them filterable. What is this? AB? Oh, yes.
Oh.
Leandro, Senor Performo, saying after Paul, before Paul. Yeah. It's kind of like BC,
Yeah.
BC and AD.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. So, all right. So this is when did you arrive actually?
I started at the end of January. January 31st, I think, was my first first day. And yeah, Leandro, he started maybe like 4 weeks or 3 weeks just before me, or if even that.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was very close together. So
Yeah.
you came in at about this point after the acquisition.
Yes.
Had you heard about K6 even before the acquisition?
Yes, I had. And I'm
Oh,
running into
of
some
course.
technical difficulties. Let me switch
Well,
cameras.
we'll just have to imagine what Paul looks like.
Yeah.
Here, let's look at the slides instead for now.
There we are. I'm back.
Oh, you're back. Okay. Fine. We'll have you back. So what was your impression coming into the company at this point?
No, I thought like I said kind of at the beginning, I was excited because I had already had exposure to both sides of the coin, right? I had exposure to Grafana already, and then I had some slight exposure to K6, creating some of our testing that we had done at my previous employer in a past life.
Do you think that you would have joined K6 if we hadn't been acquired by Grafana?
Probably. I think so. I think
Okay.
so.
Are you just saying that because we're live?
Yeah. Yeah, it's I gotta watch out. I can't get in trouble. Yes, no,
Yeah.
I think I would. I think I would, because everyone really that I met was already on the K6 side of things. So, that's where I got my little soft spot in my heart for the K6 folks.
Yeah. But it certainly, I guess, didn't hurt
Did not
that we
hurt.
also had Grafana.
No, did not hurt. Did not hurt at all. Because I like I said, I had already been working with Grafana products for years. With just the UI, I never messed with well, Mimir wasn't out yet, but Loki or Tempo, I hadn't messed with either of those yet. But
Okay.
no, I was
So let's
excited
talk.
with them.
So tell us what did happen after Paul?
So yes, so now we come into the age of innovation. No, it's
No. Oh, okay.
no, no, but yeah. So no, it was a lot of continuation on things that were started before. So here with the Grafana Labs section here, yeah, the K6 Cloud app came out. And that was really cool. That was in one of our previous talks as well, where we had was it Edvinas or Edward came on, and then we were going over that plugin in Grafana that really kind of replicates the look and feel of the K6 Cloud product within Grafana. Really, really very cool. Now, at the time, you couldn't launch your workflows or anything like that from that, but you could view everything. Very nice. Definitely a lot of good work going on there, and there's more coming. So, but yeah, and then this time we were doing our migration. So we were migrating things over from the old Load Impact Docker Hub repository to move our images over under the Grafana name. So that was there we go with Edgar. That's right.
I just wanted to say this K6 Cloud too was the one that replaced the K6 data source, and
Yeah.
it's there's no question, like it's so much better.
It
You can
is very
actually
cool.
start tests from it now. It's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so you can start them now. That's a very, very new feature though, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, age of innovation and all that.
That's going to come back to bite me. I just know.
I'm going to edit this afterwards
There
and
we
cut out
go.
like
Yep.
the most conceited sounding parts.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Put it on the B-roll. But yeah, so we were doing a lot of the migration of things. So we were trying to, obviously the company's name was Load Impact, and It's a little slow to get everything changed like that. You would think that it's, oh yeah, a piece of cake, nothing. But yeah, it's easy to change, but there's a lot of repercussions around that. So that migration was happening. There was additional work going on with the Prometheus remote write support from our extensions. So being able to do that. So again, the better interaction with Prometheus and with Grafana in effect. But yeah, the cloud. Yeah, this was a big one. The private load zones. This is what's really cool. So this will get you isolated and everything. And this now, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm overstating this, but I know this is where, as a customer of the enterprise, software as a service, you can have your own AWS, like in your own VPC. You can connect with the K6 cloud to get all the output from the K6 cloud into your own VPC. So that way, then your test results are all separate and safe from possibly bleeding into anyone else's, which that's not going to happen anyway. But but this gives you that extra feel good. We introduced the education program, and it's all about feeling good, right? You need to always be feeling warm and fuzzy.
If companies already have accounts with one of the big cloud providers, especially in particular AWS, if they already have their own AWS account, it's like, well, maybe they want to use that for security reasons. And also, I really like that you can still use our stuff or run things locally. You can have it as a separate load zone. And I just posted a link to our office hours with the backend lead, one of the two backend leads, Samuel.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good one too. But and then the education program. So now if you are teaching folks how to do load testing, you can actually get an account on K6 Cloud to be able to run your test there with your students. So that's something that came out just here in the last, I don't know, maybe, I guess it's been maybe 4 months. I'm not sure how many folks have taken advantage of that just yet, but that is an option out there. So that's pretty cool. So you can use the K6 Cloud to do some instruction there. Yeah, additional test builder updates. That thing just keeps getting better and better. Like Nicole mentioned with in the previous epoch or era that with the multiple scenarios. Yes, in the olden days, way back. But the newer feature that was added is now the multiple scenarios in the test builder. So you can have a lot of these things that are going on at the same time, running different, I think of it as like layers. If you do any image editing or anything, you have your background layer, you have the, all that. And that's how I think of the scenarios, is just layers of these workflows. Now, secure test runs. What was that? Help me remember that one, Nicole.
Yeah, so that is a way to be able to delete sensitive data if you want to, because we do get results, but sometimes, depending on how your scripts are set up, sometimes we may get information because we K6 automatically reports things like the URL. So maybe you don't want that to be to just remain on K6 Cloud. So being able to delete that was a big thing for enterprise customers.
Yeah,
anyone
I didn't
really
pick up on the
cared about security.
Yeah, that's right. The delete sensitive data. I did forget about that. Threw me off, the secure. But it makes it more secure. Your data is secure. So
yeah. More internal stuff too.
Yep, those guys were busy. More on the Kubernetes migration. Just, yeah, general stability. They've been in reliability. They've been working away at that. Timescale DB updates, Postgres, all the things.
Oh, and I was also talking to some of our engineers, and they said that our databases were upgraded to 4 times their capacity.
Wow.
So I feel like a lot of these things are so general, like, oh, more stability, more reliability,
Yeah.
but that's such a
There's a lot
broad
to
topic.
them. Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
also
There's
just in
definitely a lot.
general, we're moving to, we were already using a lot of Grafana products, but obviously like we were not doing it as internal users. And so now that we basically get those things for free, we're
Yep.
we're also trying to move everything to not just Grafana, but things like Loki across everything, just also to standardize it, because we already were using Loki, but not for everything, for example. So we're moving to all the Grafana projects.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really just basically too setting us up for growth. Obviously now that we're tied in with Grafana Labs, that just, makes, there's all these different products that go well together. It's like peanut butter and jelly. Now, I don't know which one's the peanut butter. I don't
Who's
know
the,
which one's
yeah,
the
I was gonna
jelly, but
say.
I don't know. Maybe because we still have the colors, the color palettes are still a little bit different. Maybe Grafana is
Yeah.
the peanut butter because they're kind of orangish, and
Okay,
then whereas
okay.
we're the jelly because, purple,
Because because jelly's purple. Okay. All right. I'm not sure I like this new epoch of Paul. It's a
The
tenuous metaphor.
Yes, yes, yes. The peanut butter and jelly. But yeah, so we're setting ourselves up for the growth. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But yeah, and now in the extensions world, we've got the new extension API. Now that actually came out. That was in a pre-Paul era, but now it's like it's really kind of coming to use. And then we're saying, okay, the old method is deprecated. Now we need to switch over to the new one. And a lot of the K6 devs have actually been reaching out to the repository owners for some of these other extensions to say, hey, you're broken with this latest version of K6, and then we've been submitting some patches and things like that to some of these other developers. The basic event loop that's now kind of out. That's, to support this whole thing with the asynchronous calls. So, one of the big projects, or one of the big extensions that's making use of that, is the Websockets. So this way, then you can have this async communication going on within your script. So you can have callbacks to say that, okay, once the response comes back, then reply and, perform this action. So it's really actually very cool. And we're doing some work right now with the AMQP extension, dropping down there to the bottom to bring that up to snuff with the event loop as well. Let's see, K6 Chaos. So this is a JavaScript library. So this is going to work on top of the Xk6 Kubernetes, which has been getting considerable amounts of love these days. But that K6 Chaos our library just kind of works on top of that and utilizes the Kubernetes functionality to be able to do different experiments, things like, adding a, we're getting some spam in our comments, it looks like.
I'll take care of
But,
it. It's okay.
all righty. Yeah. But yeah, so it'll let you do things like, again, like I mentioned before with the Xk6 Chaos, you can kill pods, you can do things like, inject an ephemeral container to, create some additional CPU usage or soak up, memory, things like that to force Kubernetes to kill off a pod. Let's see, we've got the AWS JS lib or it's not an extension, it is a JavaScript library to be able to interact with things like with Secrets Manager So if you are in your scripts, you need to be able to look up a password or something like that to be able to submit on a client request. You can use that library to actually look it up from Secrets Manager and AWS. Obviously, you got to be on AWS, and then use those credentials. That way, then you're not just saving them in your scripts. Again, the Xk6 WebSockets, Xk6 Redis, those two have been getting a lot of work, and they're actually tying into one of the next pieces. They'll be available in core for the version 0.40 release under this K6 experimental tag. So we're going to try to do that to enable the ability to bring these extensions into the core product a little bit easier, and to be able to have kind of like a graduation method to be able to bring things into the core product. So that's a big thing coming up.
I'm excited about that because that's kind of one of our problems, right? Xk6 and having the ability to extend K6 and create your own versions of K6 is awesome, but not everybody knows how to do it or wants to be able to do it. Or also it's just like an extra step, right?
Yeah.
So now this is like a compromise. We're still gonna have it separate from core. So core will remain like not experimental, but you can import some stuff if you want to really easily.
Yeah. You won't have to go and build, with Xk6, you won't have to bring it in yourself. So it's definitely going to be a nice feature. And there was one item that I skipped over, unfortunately. That's the Chai.js. Something Pavel, our CTO, he put together. And that's a nice little JavaScript library to make your testing or your checks a little bit more kind of a fluent language for your scripts, just to make it a little bit nicer to read and write on when you're validating results and things like that. So that's something definitely to check into.
So like a bit more of a testy kind of framework, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about the people part of it, because that has seen a lot of changes, as you might imagine as well. First of all, we had a 43% increase in team members in 1 year. So in real terms, I kind of think it sounds better, like sounds more impressive like that. But we went from 30 people on the team to I think 43. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's 43 with more coming.
Yeah,
we're going to need a new building. Except we don't really have offices. We got rid of our office, our one and only office in Stockholm, Sweden, that I never went to.
Yeah.
We got rid of it since Grafana has offices in Stockholm too, like within a block of each other, if I remember correctly. I've never been to either. What else? So our CEO, Robin Gustafsson, who's been around during like load impact days when it was doing an MMORPG, not testing. It seems more exciting. Hey, did you know about that, Paul?
The game?
Yeah. World Eater, it was called.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was like, does Grafana
was it like
know that they
Gator Hole or something like that?
Oh, Gator Hole, I think, was the name of the company.
The company? Okay.
But then I think the name of the game was World Eater.
Okay. Yeah.
It's funny. So anyway, I don't know why we were talking about that. Anyway, Robin became the Grafana Labs VP of Product, which is a huge thing for us, because it's always like when you get acquired, when your company gets acquired, there's always the question of how much will they really be listening to you, because once you're acquired, there are some companies that treat it more like a hostile takeover, like, now you're ours, you do what we say. So having Robin in a VP position, that's excellent news for us, because it means that we are equal partners. We're a department of Grafana Labs. We're not, we're not just going to be swallowed up and salvaged for parts, basically. So that was an important one. And then also some departments, some areas of K6 have started to become integrated with Grafana Labs.
Mhm.
In particular, the customer success and sales portions are now just like one team with Grafana. So a lot of the go-to-market functions now, it makes sense because they have a bigger department than we do, and really our people needed help because we're a much smaller team. So it's actually been a very positive change in general, that we've been able to lean on some of the existing expertise and skills on the Grafana Labs team. And now it's just the one team of go-to-market, which means that we've also been able to have a dedicated product team within K6. Now, technically, Robin was in product, but he was also the CEO. So, he was already doing a lot of things, like a multiple hat situation. So what our head of customer success, Mark Meyer, who has been on office hours before, it has now moved into a product management position. So for the first time, we have a full-time product manager at K6, which is only a good thing. And Daniel Gonzalez Lopez, who incidentally was an engineer who, even before we were with Grafana, was already a maintainer of Grafana Tempo. So he was already kind of moonlighting even before the acquisition. He's moved into a product position as well. So he manages programs. He's a technical program manager, which just means he's going to be working with Mark to to make sure that we're focused on the product.
Yes.
Those are things that we've only been able to do because of the extra help, honestly, from Grafana.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see what they come up with, what kind of ideas that we can start implementing.
And then I didn't want to list. At first I was going to talk about how many videos we've done, how many conferences. There's just so many, and it's not just the DevRels. A lot of our developers have done Grafana webinars. I wrote down the languages: English, Spanish, German, and French. And I think Mustafa even did one in Persian. Is that right? Turkish, sorry. And so, like, yeah, it's really cool to just be so integrated with Grafana in that way, because they have a lot of these scheduled webinars, and that's a positive thing. Here's one thing: we're kind of running out of time, but I want to get through this stuff. This is the number of OSS test runs per month. So this starts in 2020. So like the acquisition was somewhere here. If you can see my mouse, right?
Yep.
So yeah, and then
Right
it
in the
goes
middle.
all the way till today. And we now are at 18.3 million test runs using K6 OSS per month, which is amazing. Like how, like that's so many people, so many people. And we were already trending upwards before Grafana, but certainly it hasn't hurt our success. It's definitely helped us to have Grafana backing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
I
were
still
saying,
keep
Paul.
thinking. I keep thinking. So that spike is there in around March timeframe. I'm sure that's when they were testing Meyer.
Yeah.
With the over 1 billion active data series in the database. So they did a lot of testing.
That's a good point. I don't know how it's hard to tell, right? We don't really distinguish how many we've run as a company. So
Yeah.
a lot of people in Grafana use our stuff, and we run a lot of stuff. So yeah, I don't know, but it's still trending upwards.
Yep. No, that's a good thing.
And in general, I also talked to our CTO. Sorry. And let me grab my coffee here. Sorry. And he said that our on K6 Cloud, I'm still like recovering from COVID.
Yeah, no, and we've had we're steadily trending still on the adoption. I know it was like a 16% continual, nice angle there, moving up.
Thank you, Paul. I just suddenly had a big coughing fit in the middle of it. I was just so aghast at the improvement,
I know that giant spike there being right there in that usage. It's like, what happened?
Yeah. So I thought it would be interesting also to look at what happened on the Grafana side. We had a 300% increase. If you thought 43% was huge, on the Grafana side, we've gone from 300 to 900 people.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. I know every day you see the emails coming through. This person joined, this person joined, this person joined. It's amazing the amount of growth that we're encountering.
We've also had a Grafana Fest, which is like an internal conference where everybody in Grafana, including us, are invited to go. We've had 4 hackathons.
Yeah.
I've participated in 2 of them.
I have
And
yet.
in one of them, we won 2nd place.
That's nice. And that was Crocuspan's, wasn't it? Or was it the teapot?
It was teapot. It was for
Okay.
eBPF monitoring.
Yeah.
You got to get on that, Paul.
One of these days.
And obviously, like, this is looking a little light just because I just wanted to give an overview of what had happened. But obviously, there's lots of Grafana is way, way bigger. So there's a lot more things that happened in the last year. But these are like the most notable things. Grafana On Call was announced, and then incident shortly afterwards. And then machine learning too, which is like, we're just all over the place.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. And then Meyer, which you mentioned earlier.
Yep. Yeah, and an On Call was released or open sourced. And then now we are even a platinum member of the CNCF, so the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, which I get to actually do a talk on one of their webinars here in October. So look forward to that. That'll be on the K6 operator.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah.
And in terms of the money, there was another round since we were acquired. In April 2022, Grafana announced another $240 million that was raised in Series D funding.
Yeah.
Which means that they've raised $460 million since we joined them. It's unheard of, these numbers. And then they also strengthened their partnership with Microsoft, so that now it's a lot easier. Grafana is now bundled in if you're using Azure Cloud, it's a lot easier to get Grafana into your stack. And Pace.dev was also acquired, which I haven't actually gotten a chance to really play with. But it's just it's hard to keep track of all of the new stuff. But apparently they deliver dev tools, but with a slick minimalist design. So they do like project management, screen recording, and search with ranked machine learning.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of stuff happening on the Grafana side too.
Definitely.
So I guess
where are we going?
Yeah, where are we going, Paul?
More and more growth.
I should say that neither of us were maybe this would have been better delivered by like Robin or the product team. This is just sort of things that we know are priorities.
Right.
So first is to grow, but to grow with intention. And that means getting more good people to join us. Which
And we're
means
hiring.
we are
Yeah.
hiring. We're always hiring, and so is
Yeah.
Grafana. In fact, despite these like the macroeconomic situation, we're not slowing down. We're trying to hire, especially since there have been a lot of layoffs in other tech companies. We're trying to get some of those awesome people to maybe join us on our team.
Yes. Definitely.
And then another plan would be to integrate more closely with all Grafana stuff, which means internally continuing to move everything to all of the Grafana things, Grafana projects, and also like learning to use them, because there are many projects that Grafana has its fingers in. And I know it can be kind of confusing just to understand the landscape of what's out there. So there's a lot of like cross skilling and cross training on both sides, as they're also getting familiar with what K6 is and how to use us. And we are also striving for eventual feature parity between K6 Cloud and specifically the Grafana Cloud app. So I'm talking about the K6 Cloud, like the one that replaced a data source thing. Right now, it's not there yet. There's still things you can do in K6 Cloud that you can't do within Grafana in that app, but we are going towards that. We're working towards that goal. And then the last thing is to extend, in particular, in the areas of chaos and browser. So I know our CTO, Powell, is very big on extending the definition of what K6 is doing and
Right.
kind of repositioning it so it's not just load testing. It's more
Exactly.
like broader performance and reliability.
Right. Yep. Your reliability toolkit for sure.
Well, that was a lot, Paul. I feel like we just went through a lot of things. How do you feel about the future?
I feel rosy about the future, or is it bullish? Bullish, I think is yeah. So no, it's going to be exciting. I mean, we're really, the growth. While it seems kind of like, wow, are we growing too fast? It's we're going to need that because yeah, things are going in the right direction, and just showing from that usage graph as well. I mean, the hockey stick is going up now, right? So we are definitely in a growth mode. So the future is bright.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that what has come out of the acquisition has been overwhelmingly positive. I think
Definitely.
you can also, we have had office hours with Robin Gustafsson, our CEO, and then another one with him and with the Grafana Labs CEO, Raj Dutt. So you can go check those out as well to see what they thought was going to be in the future for both companies. But I think we're growing really well together. I think a lot of the promises that Grafana made, they've already delivered in. Like the promise of, not making us proprietary and continuing this big tent philosophy, they've certainly made good on those promises. So yeah, I'm excited to see what else is coming in the future. It's been a wild ride for sure. Lots of changes, people changes, and like feature changes, and just everything. There's a lot that's happening. Definitely some growing pains as well, and some integration pains as two very different teams are trying to learn to understand each other and work together.
Yeah.
But I think it's all overwhelmingly positive.
Exactly. No, definitely.
Anything else
We're
you want to say before we let people go?
I don't think so. I think we're a little bit over time, but yeah, no, keep an eye out because there's lots more coming. Obviously, we're definitely
Yeah.
set up for success.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining K6, Paul, because it's also your 6-month anniversary, right, with
Yes,
us?
woo! I made it. I made it. Does that mean I'm off double secret
Yay.
probation?
Yeah, there's another level of secret probation. Sorry.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're not quite there yet. Maybe
No,
someday.
okay. Yeah. The next era.
Yeah. Era number 3.
Exactly.
Thank you, everybody who joined us, and I guess we'll see. Oh, wait, is Leandro coming on to say something? Hey, Leandro.
Uh-oh.
I just joined by the very end to say hi, hola, adios, and to get on the chat and participate a little bit, but just for the closing part.
Yeah, and the secret meeting afterwards.
The secret meeting. Yes.
We need
All
to
right.
discuss stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. And next week, before I forget, next week we won't have an office hours because it is a Grafana shutdown day. It's like a holiday just for us Grafanistas. But the week after that, we'll be back with Daniela Gonzalez Lopez to talk about trends in observability. Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Adios.
Bye-bye.